Kelly's kids, and Bill Sala there as well, a next generation racer, and away we go. It's a really good front row start. They go very much with each other off the line there. The field gets away, no trouble on the grid, and they are totally clear down the long straight here at Sandown, crowding over onto the drivers left of the straight. There looks like Harry Strick's gone to the inside, goes right to the outside to try and blow the car through there. The 186 of Ty Hodge holds place. That's exactly how they lined up on the grid. They get through turn one in the front of the pack anyway. Everyone gets through turn one, snake their way down through turn 2 and 3, where you do have to go single file, otherwise you fly through the air and get a bit agricultural about it. The 15 of Mason Kelly is flowing the car nicely. That's what it's all about, Excels. Coming out of turn 4, you want to keep as much speed as you can up there to get up the hill. Underpowered cars, everyone's got exactly the same package just in front of them in that power plant. So it's about the car that can flow it the best. Have a look at this. This is almost like Formula V racing, Steve, the slipstream coming into effect.
Certainly is. You need to use the slipstream here because, as you mentioned, these cars are quite underpowered for the type of car they are. It's roughly 70, 75 sort of horsepower out of the factory motors here. There's not a lot you can do to them. There are, of course, permitted modifications to the engine components, to the suspension, but essentially this is a stock series. So it's very important to keep the momentum up. Once you have that momentum, you've got to be able to flow the car nicely. You don't want to scrub off excess speed when you don't need to scrub that off, because you will be overhauled if you make that sort of mistake.
Down into Dandenong Road, Bill Sala did a terrific job. Managed to get to the inside there in the roadworthy shop. Pink entry, there it goes now. Did a good job there, and has put it quite a gap back to the next one on the track. And unfortunately, he's gone down a spot off the start. But that top 10 now have broken away from the rest of the field. So that front group ends with Sala. Big lock up there. Was that Twinning that locked it up just in the middle of the pack there? Really hard to tell.
Either Twinning or Kadich. I think it might have been one of the two. They were very close together as they headed into turn 1.
Emily Jones going nicely through one. Oh. Up on 2 wheels. The 53. That was a very precarious Ethan Wilson up ace high. I like that. The sponsor's named what exactly happened.
Ace is high indeed. They're a bit of a sawtooth curve there in turn number 2, but it's a very, very aggressive curve if you get that angled approach wrong. There's a car facing the wrong way.
3 cars round.
Yep, so we've got the 74 car here of Joseph Scarmozzanino.
Started off the back of the grid.
Yep, facing the wrong way. There was another 1 or 2 cars that were caught in that as well. It's a local yellow, so no need to put the safety car out at this stage. A couple of cars pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get going again. Great
to see Lanatech jumping on board to support the Excels through season 2024 here at the 888 Home Loans Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. We've got some really good subsidiary sponsors on this weekend. Kevlar Towing, Raceline Motorsport, Racewear, Speed Gas, Pack Performance from the Rotary World, Mornington Mazda, YTG, the Young Timers Garage, and many, many more will bring you right throughout this weekend.
Here we go. The end of lap number 2. A couple of cars side by side across the line here. These are sort of getting towards the tail end of the top 20. You can see already a few other drivers looking down the inside here, because you want to be on that left-hand side for the approach to turn number 1. It is the dirty side of the road, but it is more than possible to hold the line here, and if you get it wrong, you end up on the outside like that, and you can see what happened there.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. 3 different cars with 3 different approaches. One in the middle of the road, one on the outside of the road that can carry a bit more momentum, one on the inside of the track needed to get the car stopped, but then scrubbed off too much speed.
You saw William Sala taking the spot off Rio Campbell at turn 1 there. They're already up the back straight now, so a swap for the top 10 there, so just keeping that top 10 intact. Great look back down through the field, and getting a good look at everyone as they come through the kink and up the hill. There goes the 53. We saw 2 wheeling it. Ethan Wilson through turns 2 and 3, only a lap ago. 22 going through there, very lively as well. That's Jet Bloomerous. Nice work there. It is Jet Bloomerous going through, and being joined there by Cisco Morales. This is a really, really aggressive part of the field here that we're looking at.
And it's all headed by the 22 machine there of Jet Bloomerous. So there's about 8 or 9 cars that are starting to line up in this little train. It's, just count them up there, it's about 7 actually, so not too far off, actually gaining a few more cars. I think the last car in the queue looks like it's Lucy Sidwell, and there's a couple of other cars that are not too far away from making this a really big long lineup coming down the front straight here.
Geez, I tell you what, if you sort of half squint at this could look like a NASCAR straight, couldn't it? The way they're all following each other, weaving from left to right here. You've got to really squint to make it look like NASCAR.
Yeah, a little bit, yes.
And probably play a soundtrack over them, but that was what it looked like. Side by side action down into 2. You've got to fall into single file before 3. They do that. Up on 2 wheels again there. This is mid-pack. This is Cisco Morales popping it up in the air there, almost like a dog just taking a leak on a lamppost.
Nice move from Jack Johnson there as well at turn number 2 to grab that position away from Morales. So very, very smart job here. Here's another move happening down at the top of the hill. This is the top at turn 6. This is a high-speed approach here. And that's Mason Kelly, I think, down the inside of Tabitha Ambrose. So Ambrose had a go, I think, at trying to hold off the advances of the 15 machine, but couldn't make that stick. And now, as Kelly clears away, it's going to be Ambrose having to defend from the 72 machine of Twining, and then Kadich, who started 9th in behind there in 8th place. So there's been very little movement in the top 10, maybe a position up and a position down for a couple of drivers, the ones that have moved so far. Strick has gone up ahead of Hodge. Now Kelly has gone ahead of Ambrose, and then Twining, who started in 8th, is up to 7th. Kadich, who started 9th, has moved up to 8th, and Sala, who started 7th, is down to 9th.
And as is customary in Excel Racing, we're seeing the front 2 cars swapping fastest lap. Brad James had the fastest 3rd lap, and then Hugo Simpson has just got the fastest 4th lap now. Getting a good look here. There's one of the Adam Macro Racing cars, and that's the 333. The AMR car there, and that's Rio Campbell. Going back a couple of spots there because Emily Jones has now ticked that box. We saw Sala doing that. This is lap 1. This is the slide down. Whoa, that was Kelly bouncing. There's Sala in the pink roadworthy centre car as well. Nicely in there, but wow, Kelly bouncing it around. Here we go. This is what we want to see. This is the race lead right out in front. The 61 of Bradley James started on pole, has wobbled his way back, wobbled his way forward again. But Hugo Simpson, the 117, a name pretty much synonymous with Excel Racing here at the 888 Home Loans Victorian State Race Series, doing a terrific job. 3rd on the road now is Strick with Hodge, Mason Kelly, Tabitha Ambrose in the Adam Macro Racing entry.
Back to this group of cars with Morales now heading Jack Johnson, so he's found his way back past again. Count the cars as they come into the next shot. So they actually managed to break away from that group of cars that were chasing them down. So it was 7 cars, it's now down to 5. So they've managed to pull a little bit of a gap. Sometimes you just got to work together, Darren. We see this in a lot of Formula Ford. We see it in Formula V as well with the slipstream. You've just got to be able to work together sometimes to bridge a gap to cars that are trying to chase you, and then worry about going for positions at the end of the race. But
here we go again. The leaders cocking their legs on the turn 3 ripple strip. Out over the back there. 2 wheels off the ground at the back. Doesn't matter. All the steering and all the drivers done through the front of an XL. The back wheels really, they just stop the back of the car from dragging on the ground. Quote unquote, 4 times Australian Rally champion Simon Evans when he was racing front wheel drive rally cars.
Absolutely.
I love that one, out of a guy that won 4 Australian Rally championships, particularly in a front wheel drive car. You need the rear wheels, otherwise the back of the car drags on the ground.
It certainly does. Here we go, Simpson, another challenge down at turn 6. This time he has a bit more space. They're going to go side by side, so James shortcuts the circuit. He'll have to give that up because you can't retain the position by going outside the circuit limits, and he gave it up, but he didn't make it very easy for Hugo Simpson, who now takes the lead of this race. He had enough space at the top of the hill, had the slipstream out of turn number 4 all the way to turn 6. Job done.
Steve, this is why we come to the racetrack. I love watching that. That is an absolute stretch of the regulations, rules and skills right there, but no one got hurt. We go on racing, and if it was football, the umpire would have blown the whistle and said, play on, well done. This is racing. For mine, the racetrack ends at the wall. Some say where that yellow line is, and I guess technically that's where it is, but your race is really over if you're at the wall.
Yeah, if you haven't left the margin for error to the wall,
that's right,
your race is absolutely over. Now it'll be interesting to see what Simpson's got in store. He's just set the fastest lap of the race on that last tour, the 133.12. So some 7/10 of a second or so away from what he did in qualifying earlier this morning. But has he got the legs to stretch away from James in the 61 here? He's been at the front of the Victorian State Race Series Championships over the last several seasons. He's a race winner. He knows how to get this done. James knows how to run at the front as well, so he's not going to lay down without a fight.
Hugo Simpson now leading the field as they all slowly file their way through the kink, over the causeway, up to the top of the hill now. The Simpson coming around the outside, trying the other side. Now is James. We've got a rollover.
That's at turn one. That's Lucy Sidwell. That's the snaffle entry on its lid at turn number 1, the exit turn
safety
1.
Car.
And the safety car will be called very quickly, I have no doubt. That's a nasty spot to have rolled over, and there it is. We have seen an XL roll here before. I believe it was Abby Wingett a couple of years ago at exactly the same spot, and there's glass has been shattered on the road there. Hopefully Lucy's okay, but that is a nasty incident. Unfortunately, has occurred off camera without us having any visual as to what has gone on there, so we can only assume that there's either another car involved or you've clipped the inside curb too aggressively at turn 1, which we've seen happen here before, not just in XLs, but in several categories over the course of time too. You get two wheels too far up in the air grabbing that curb, there's a high chance you're going to go over.
I've got to say, the turret doesn't seem to be crushed down too much there, so hopefully we'll see the field come under control and we can see Lucy emerge from the cars. Around about 22nd in the race, and I don't care whether it's XLs or it's Formula One, it's that midfield where a lot of these sorts of things start to happen. We don't know what happens, so we can really only surmise of how that's occurred. Obviously there's some smashed glass and debris on the track there, but certainly that was livening up to be a ripping XL race at the front there, because Hugo Simpson and Brad James had just come out of Dandenong Road corner side by side, and it was going to be on for the lead. These races are all time certain. We're only seeing 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock, so I would suggest what we're looking at now is going to be the final result. In fact, I'm not surprised that, or I'm a bit surprised that race control's gone with a safety car and not a red flag to finish that, but that could happen in the next minute or so. Great to see the Racer Industries safety car out in front there, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, we've got some great subsidiary sponsors that have contributed greatly to making sure that this live broadcast happens out over the live streaming, brought to you via the Blendline TV networks. Of course, 888 Home Loans being the great supporter right throughout the season. It's fantastic to have Mentone Premix on for all of your concreting needs or anything like that. Get down and see Gary. In fact, I'll be doing just that in the not too distant future, and have a look at his Get Exposed aggregate concrete, your driveway, your whatever it might be. Get down and see the team at Mentone Premix. Richard at Ringwood Automatics, 45 years of experience down there, and I can certainly vouch for them. My GQ patrol about 20 years ago was done at Ringwood Automatics. So get down and see Richard at Ringwood Automatics. Ben from Black Mamba Racing Products, fabricated roll cages and exhaust systems. And we know and love Ben McLeod from his involvement in the Victorian Sports Sedan Championship, a race winner now, and doing a terrific job in the red Commodore down in Carrum Downs in Victoria. MPC Auto Speed, our great mate Lee down there to do all your vehicles from open wheelers, tarmac rally, circuit, full restorations in Croydon South. Check them out, and for all of your requirements with your pride and joy, Lee Partridge down at MPC Auto Speed in Croydon. Advanced Car Carriers, from dealership moves, new and used, local and interstate transfers in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, fast and effective on-the-time movers. Contact them for a quote. And Soda Blast, Ringwood, safely remove paint and rust from your car. Our great mate Travis Condon, who races the green Corolla in the Victorian Series and sometimes the National Series. Get down and see Soda Blast Ringwood. Race Fuels are the supplier to the stars and grassroots and everything in between. Believe it or not, but they are. There's the checkered flag for the XLs, and that will conclude race number 1. The race win will go to Hugo Simpson from Brad James, then Harry Strick will be the final one on the podium there. Tice Hodge back to Mason Kelly, Will Twinning, Tabitha Ambrose, Caddick, Will Sala, Emily Jones and Rio Campbell round out our top 11.
Bit of a sad finish to race number 1 for the Hyundai Excels. Hopefully Lucy's okay down there at turn number 1. Hopefully not sure if we'll see her back at all across the weekend, but we'll get the goss and we'll bring that to you tomorrow morning when we find out what's happened there. But Hugo Simpson with an early statement here in race number 1 for the Excels here at round 4 of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships.
Plenty of racing to go. Of course, race fuels are right across motorsport in, well, let's call it Asia at the moment. GT racing in Japan this weekend, Phillip Island for a race feeding down there, here at Sandown, and of course their pumps 24/7 at Queensland Raceway and Sydney Motorsport Park. And of course they're home down in Dandenong where you can get all of your pump fuel from. This is great shots. The driver is out of the car number 32, driver out, and that was Lucy Sidwell, and gone over to the officials. So fantastic there that we've got the driver safe and sound out of the car. A couple of minutes hanging upside down in the car. I guess it's better to be safe hanging upside down than wandering around trackside. We'll take a quick break because we have got the saloon cars coming up next. Excels out on track now for their second race for the weekend. This will conclude our morning session, if you like, for round 4 of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. We thank our great friends at 888 Home Loans for bringing us the series right across the 2024 season. I'm Darren Smith, right alongside Steve DeVries. We've ruled out the big guns for this second race for the Excels, and this is how the grid will look. Hugo Simpson will start out on pole position with Brad James right alongside Harry Strick in the 630 630 to its friends. The 185 of Tice Hodges is next. Mason Kelly to William Twinning. Tabitha Ambrose in the 199 out of 7. Ashton Caddick out of position 8. William Sala out of 9. Emily Jones out of 10. Rio Campbell and the 333 will come out of 11th. Ethan Wilson next to Jack Carpenter. Jet Bloomeris started off rear of grid this morning, now worked up to position number 14. Cisco Morales will come out of 15. Fletcher Simpson in the number 27 will come out of 16. Jack Johnson, Michael Brennan. Lachlan Harvey in the number 25 next, and it's Thomas Von Dresek in the number 7. Aidan Brand, Lee Salmaya, Richard Outram in car number 109 out of 23. Bailey Perryman in the number 28. Dallas Harvey, Keenan Jones, Carly Fleming, Joseph Scamozzi and Lucy Sidwell will round out this field. We're not too far away from seeing the whole grid come onto the famous grid start here at Sandown International Motor Raceway. The race starts have been quite long. The hold between the 5 second and the actual red light going out have been well and truly north of 5 seconds.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of an eternity this weekend, doesn't it, Darren? There's always been, you look at the red light, you think, okay, I can almost count it and time it, but it's almost like the old Formula One ones where they had the lights go out and there's almost like a randomised sequence of seconds that go past before the field actually gets released. What I've been paying attention to, Daz, as the field's been going around on the formation lap is just the amount of speedy dry that's still down on the circuit at Dandenong Road Corner from the Porsche 944s that we've just had going around, and a few people just exploring where that is and trying to mop some of it up and push it out to the outside of the circuit so it then cleans up the traditional racing line through Dandenong Road Corner. So that'll be interesting to watch on the opening lap or two, just how the field can get through there and not run off the road in the same fashion.
Grid position's been taken, all of the officials, rather than the safety yellows, the yellow flags that designate rows, they've cleared their way from the edge of the track. The officials standing there with yellow flags are for stalled cars or incidents on the grid. We don't want to see like we saw with Danny Timewell and Andy Morris at Phillip Island last time around. So we wait for the red light to come on the left-hand side of your screen. On it goes. And a quick one. We get away nicely there. Hugo Simpson just gets away a little bit better than Bradley James there, but it really is a very, very close. The first 4 rows have all just taken off at the lights there. A run down into turn number 1, and it is going to be the 117 of Hugo Simpson, the inside running at turn 1. It doesn't appear as though there's a lot between them. Bradley Jones has been pushed wide. He stays right there in contention, sweeping around as the number 13, Ashton Kadich has had a fantastic start for 13 and pushes hard. The 15 of Mason Kelly just held out a little bit there, but the 199 up on its wheels there for Adam Macro Racing. That's Tabitha Ambrose. And we all get safely through turns 1, 2 and 3 at this stage. Turn 4 with the ant cam there, you get to see the underside almost of the entire Excel field as they work their way in the back straight. We've got one stuck out on the driver's right-hand side, just gets back in the train. It's the 333 of Rio Campbell that welcomes them back. They fan out, going across the top of the hill and plunge down into the S's, down into Dandenong Road. It will be Bradley James that leads the field down into Dandenong Road for the first time.
I've got a funny feeling that Harry Strick might have actually started from the pit lane, because I noticed that Tice Hodge had a really good start. Then I noticed there was another car that was missing from his left-hand side, and in the back of the shot I did see there was a car that was up at turn 4 when the field was streaming up into the headwind heading towards turn 6. So that's a bit of an unusual situation there, with a car coming in at the end of the formation lap and starting from the pit lane. And as you mentioned there as well, Ashton Kadich, who started, was he 8th in the running order, already up to 4th by turn number 1. So that was a fantastic start. Best start of everybody in the top 10.
Tabitha Ambrose, she's up 3 spots on the opening lap as well, so a good start for the 199. Bit of a lock up there. It's in that third, fourth range of the field. Out wide goes the 61 of Brad James, but it's the 117 that just tips it into turn 2 this time round. And there's Hodge in the mix there as well. Tabitha right in the back here, wheel twinning.
Mason Kelly now down the inside of wheel twinning, so this is a change for position here as well. Across the line, twinning was in front. Now Kelly's had to ask for some room on the inside at turn 4. He's had to slot back in behind though, so not a bad idea, because up the back straight here, the wind has picked up appreciably in the last half an hour. It's now a very strong headwind as they head towards turn 6. So not a bad idea to be tucked in behind the competitor in front of you, and then use that slipstream to your advantage and swing right around the outside here at turn 6. And on the inside there, left, right, opposite lock. We've seen this happen a few times before. Superior car control from the driver off 72, wheel twinning, kept it pointing the right direction, only dropped 1 spot. What a great bit of car control.
That was awesome. It started off with Emily Jones in the back of that one, and then wheel twinning did a massive catch. That was amazing. That could have really ended in tears there, but gathered it all up and has continued on. A really relevant point you made, Steve, with this wind. It is now a belting tailwind down the front straight, so be prepared to see some big lockups in turn number 1. Here we go again.
Have a look at this.
They're coming together.
Just a little bit of contact, not much in that. There was plenty of room given, but that's just the cars moving around at the most heavily loaded point on the circuit. Great bit of car control. We saw that from Brad James, I think it was earlier in the year or last year. You know, lefts and rights coming down Dandenong Road corner and kept it on the road. But that's the beauty of these cars, isn't it? They're front wheel drive. You can just keep your foot in it. A little bit of opposite lock. The car's just going to be able to correct itself. You just got to be able to gather it up quickly enough and react quickly enough to the situation at hand, and you can stay on the track.
Just going back to that prevailing wind at the moment, it really is belting down the main straight. They come up onto the back straight here. You can see the trees really blustering around here. This will really affect their speed at the top of this straight. It's probably going to knock maybe 4 or 5 kilometres an hour off at the top at this back straight, but at the front straight it's probably going to give them 4 or 5 kilometres an hour at the end of the straight. So I was saying watch out for those lockups, because they'll get there going a little bit faster than what they've previously been used to. It's a good lead here by Brad James. He's certainly showing them how to do it from the front. Hugo Simpson has not let go. And the 13 there of Ashton Kadich is now well and truly in contention for this one. So that's a really good start in the opening 2.5 laps of this race.
Yep, top 5 very much ensconced in this battle for the podium position. Still a long way to go. And then Mason Kelly heads the next group of cars just in the back of shot there. There's 3 of them, himself, twinning, and well, it seems like Harry Strick actually may have just had a bad start, because he's reading on our screens as being in 8th place. So that's a bit contrary to what we possibly saw him maybe as a pit lane start. Must have just been a very bad start. But they're in the next group of 3.
Race down the straight, our 2 leaders tipping into turn 1. Out over the back of the ripple strip goes Simpson, using all of the track boundaries. The inside running for turn 2, uses it to his advantage. Excels, you can wing them through there. 2 wide, we've just proven it. We're going to try and make it 3 wide by the next one. The 185 sneaks through there, so that is a big push through. Big push through there for Tice Hodge, getting into P2 there. And we've just seen Hugo Simpson just relegated slightly for the next bit of this lap. Looking out into some fresh air there is Tice Hodge. So tries to find a running mate. Maybe gone a bit early. Tabitha Ambrose is probably a little bit too far back, but that's going to fall badly for the 185. Getting out of that draft with such a headwind is always going to be having you like hitting a brick wall when you pull out there.
Absolutely, but it's still very, very important because you can still just use that slingshot that you're getting that extra 4 or 5 k's an hour sitting in the toe of the car in front to just throw the car out around the one you're trying to overtake. And if you can get the timing right, especially into that headwind, you'll get the move done. That's not too much of an issue going up into turn number 6. A bit further back here, this is the number 6 machine of Emily Jones, and on the outside the 161, that's Sala. I've seen this car a couple of times in a few different guises. I remember it being in the red and white, not so much the pink and white, but in a little bit of a different livery over the last couple of rounds. Jones is on the right-hand side of your shot there. Should hold sway into turn number 1.
Have a look at this, Harry Strick fighting back now, right just in the back of Mason Kelly that was. But this battle is really raging here between the 6 and the 181. William Sala doing a terrific job. Emily Jones, they're really mixing them up.
They certainly are. So this is that next group of cars. It's about the 3rd group of cars if you work your way backwards from the front. So there's the leading group of 5 cars, then there's another group of 3, and then there's this group of cars that we were just looking at heading up the back chute. So the odds are, from all of the series so far this weekend, that wind has been blowing from turn 6 down back towards the bottom end of the circuit. You don't want to be leading into turn number 6 because it always seems to be nowadays you are going to get past coming up the hill.
It's no different to what we saw in Formula V or Formula 4. Just the cars that are a little bit underpowered, you might say, are going to really suffer with this prevailing wind at the moment. A little bit of willingness going on there. That's good to see. Wilson, Carpenter, all mixed up there. This is a good battle. This is what we want to see in Excels. They're so evenly matched. They really should be all line astern with each other. There's Rio Campbell in the Adam Macro Racing outfit. In behind Campbell is Emily Wilson.
Yep, and then behind him is Morales in the Accelerate machine. So that was the 2 cars that just had a little bit of contact at Dandenong Road, just a little bit of panel exchange, one trying to get past the other. But they are still very much in pursuit of the 333 of Rio Campbell. We still haven't lost touch just yet. 5 minutes remains here, so still a lot of time when it comes to Excel Racing. So closely matched, this group of cars. Now down towards turn number 2 and 3. Talking to some of the officials after the instance of yesterday. A bit more airtime there than ideally under the left-hand side tyres for Morales. But talking to some of the officials after the instance we had at that turn yesterday, they referred to that sequence of corners as a sequence of corners that has no, proper end result. You're always, if you go through there side by side, you lose time. If you go side by side there and you make contact, you end up effectively playing chicken with somebody and end up in a fence. So as we saw yesterday, that played out in spades. So in some categories you need to leave the room, but in some categories you need to make the decisions a little bit earlier, so you go through that sequence of corners and you don't lose too much time to the drivers you're trying to battle with.
A lot of that has to do with the velocity of the car that goes through there. So these cars are not exactly flying through there. Let's take a Formula 4 or a Formula V, they flow through there beautifully, so their speed is going to certainly be up. Excel don't typically get through that section of track too fast. Have a look at this. This is Ashton Caddick. He's the only one operating in the 133s on lap number 5, a 133.9. Everyone else is floating around that very low 134s in the, I'm going to say in the top 5, in the top 10. You're all in the 134s, then you bounce outside the top 10. in the 135, right down to about 15th. So it's like a second from the 34s, a second from the 35s in those groups between 5, 10, 15 on the track here. Good shot right down the straight here, looking at all of the cars as they come through and press on up into turn 1. We saw Jack Johnson. And he started out of position number 17 and Jack is up to 14th now there. So good push there in the Lanatec XLs.
So number 7 here at the front is Thomas
Side by
Vondrasek,
side.
and then some side-by-side a bit further behind here. So the 25 of Lachlan Harvey down the inside there on the exit of 3 into 4 and picks him up another spot there.
Classic XLs, that wasn't it? You get caught out wide, someone's in the inside and you cannot get back in there and you lose 2 spots in one fell swoop.
There's a rear bumper hanging off the Wilson car there at number 53 and a bit further in front. Yeah, some contact nose to tail between Campbell and Sala. So we were talking about the fact that Wilson and Sala and this little group were trying to hone in on the back of Campbell, and they've done just that. But the little bit of contact there on the approach to the very high speed and very tricky turn number 6. And I noticed that the part of the rear left bumper hanging off the number 53 car there. No black flag at the minute. I think that's probably safe to stay where it is, but it is probably going to cause a little bit of a parachute effect heading into the headwind up the back straight, which is going to then make that situation even more worse. Now, I was about to say that James was starting to pull away from Simpson, but he's made a mistake somewhere on the last lap, and Simpson's now right there again. So 2 minutes left on the clock, probably about 3 laps or so to go, and this is now back on again for the race lead. Just when James was just starting to bridge that gap, he had it out to about 3/4 of a second, and it's now basically nothing.
It's good driving out the front. In fact, it's great driving just inside the top 10. We were watching Sala, Wilson, Morales all battling it out. This is for the lead in the Victorian XLs. This is their second race for the weekend. Still one to go. So the 117 of Hugo Simpson looks out from behind the Bradley James Adam Macro yellow liveried car and just tucks back in beside. The Hodge car is next, and then it's Ashton Caddick. Really, really good drive here by Caddick. Really holding it all together very, very nicely indeed. Wanting to get back onto the back of the SDR Hodge entry. And underneath the Penrite Bridge we go. Probably still 2 more laps, 2 and 2.25 laps left to go.
Yeah, I'd say
in
2
this
more.
journey.
2 more this time around. Now, out of this leading group, we have lost Tabitha Ambrose. She's dropped back into 5th place. She's in the next group of cars coming under fire from Harry Strick and Mason Kelly in 6th and 7th. So that's what's happened to her in the last lap or so. Simpson, fastest lap of the race so far. That's immediately surpassed by Strick, so he's on a charge at the moment, 133.7. He is flying out there. He's faster than anybody in this lead group. Mistake from James, brake lock up. That sends him wide at turn 1. Simpson, easy as you like. Pickings ripe for the taking, straight through at turn 1. He goes back to the lead of this race. Your race 1 winner from yesterday now heads them up the hill into turn number 6. The drive out of 4, very, very important, through what we call an inconsequential corner in the drive because it's basically flat out. It's almost like a little kink in the straight. It almost doesn't exist, but it does have a corner number. And as we said a few minutes ago, you don't really want to be the leader heading up here to turn number 6, especially on the last lap, because what's about to happen here is James goes right around the outside and he'll probably sweep to the lead unless Simpson wants to hang in there, which he does. He's going to make it rather difficult for him, but he now has to concede a little bit at 7, but now he's on the inside for Dandenong Road and he sticks it in there and he makes it work. So the two of them managed to make that move come off, but at the detriment of now Tice Hodge now wants a piece of the action. This is what we were talking about at turns 2 and 3. If you're slower at one part of the corner, you're both slow through that part of the corner, so then it just causes a bit of a cascading effect here. And look, Hodge has slipped through at the final corner, and now here comes Kadich, who has been on a tear this race.
Last lap board being displayed to the field here, so we head off on the last journey around in this Excel race number 2 for the weekend. We saw Brad James arrested of his lead at turn 1 last time round. It absolutely ruined his flow through turn 2, 3 and 4, and ultimately his pace up the back straight. Fighting back in the number 61 now, gets back 1 on the 13 of Caddick. So a real ding-dong battle coming down for this lead group. Who's going to be on the podium It will play out now as the 61 throwing 2 wheels up in the air through turn 3 there, right up on the ripple strip or the launch pad.
Simpson's got a gap now as well. This is very important coming up the hill towards turn 6, because if there's a car following you right in the wheel tracks, the odds are 90% of the time you will be passed heading up into turn number 6. But Simpson came out of turn 4 with a very nice little gap here, so I don't think they're going to be able to bridge this gap to him in time, and this race is now his to lose. Second place potentially on the line here now for Bradley James. Hodge backs out of it, not close enough to send it up the inside at 6, not close enough to send it up at 9 either, and the last opportunity coming up at the final sequence of corners. But
really telling pictures coming up the back straight there with the wheel work going on there. In a straight line, this wind is buffeting these cars around that much that you can see the gloves making the adjustment to hold the car in a straight line, but it'll be Hugo Simpson with the most commanding lead of the race out over 0.6 of a second coming to the line there. So it will be victory in race number 2. Hugo Simpson. Brad James jumps up 2 on the last lap and gets home in second place to Hodge. Ashton Kadich, a great drive home in 4th. Strick, Mason Kelly, Tabitha Ambrose, Emily Jones there. So a couple of the ladies doing a really good job in this race too for the weekend. But everyone struggling with that wind, really telling shots, looking straight back into the drivers coming up the back straight there with the fidgeting of the wheel just to hold the car straight. Light little race cars getting heavily affected by that prevailing wind. William Twining was next, then it was William Sala, Emily Wilson, Rio Campbell, and then we go back to Morales, and that is our top 13. And a pretty clean and tidy race, a couple of little bumps here and there, but that is a really good, clean racing by the Lanatech XLs. Really, the racing level has sort of jumped up in the last 2 seasons or so. I know Cadell Ambrose was watching on. He obviously not here to defend his championship from last year and taking place in the Toyota 86 Scholarship Series, but it is almost one of those categories now that's a rite of passage in Australian motorsport.
It's fast becoming a rite of passage. We've seen a number of drivers step out of these cars into some much quicker machinery, as you said, whether it be Formula Ford, whether it be Toyota 86 Scholarship Series, or going a little bit further than that. You know, you see the likes of Jalen Robotham, who's now doing things in Thailand with, you know, Super TT and pickups and things over there. So you can take you places. It is definitely a good breeding ground for young talent, that is for sure, and that was fully on display there. Beautiful measured drive from Hugo Simpson, played it perfectly, waited until the closing laps of the race, made his move, and he was able to gap the field. So he had a little bit of pace to burn there, and he's home by just under a second from Bradley James, with Tice Hodge and Ashton Kadich not too far behind. Good recovery from Harry Strick, so who started on the second row of the grid, then dropped back and then had to fight his way back through. So he will start the next race later on this afternoon from 5th alongside Mason Kelly. And as we said, a couple of ladies doing some great things there. Ambrose and Jones, with Twining and Sala rounding out the top 10. And now, Darren, we start the proceedings all over again, don't we?
We certainly do. Stay with us here at the 888 Home Loans Victorian State Racing Series for the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. We'll be back for the Vic V8s for their final race for the weekend.
This has happened on the outlap. That is Strick going around. We're set to start from position number 5. XLs in the wet. This is going to be carnage out there on the racetrack. There's a couple of vacant grid positions I can see. Maybe there's other spinners out there that we haven't caught. I am Dan McCarthy. Alongside me for this one is Callum Brannigan. XL's put on a show at the best of times, but just add a sprinkling of water and expect absolute chaos.
Forecasting action. The weather has opened up and we've got wet circuit conditions, and as we've already seen, it is extremely slick out there for the Hyundai XLs. It's great to see a healthy field here this weekend, here at round 4 of the Victoriant State Race Series at Sandown International Raceway. And as you say, we're anticipating action aplenty. It's going to be going off. And what a way to finish off this fantastic weekend as well, Dan.
Absolutely. We may very well have saved the best till last. Lights are on and we are underway. Positions 4, 5 and 8 I think are all vacant. So we're missing Kadich, we're missing Strick, And there's another one a little bit further back as well, but they're heading down towards turn number 1 into the great unknown. We can see windscreen wipers are hard at work, but it's the 117 of Simpson that leads James, Mason Kelly, and who's going to prevail in the fight for 4th position? Not quite sure there, but this is going to be quite something. It's going to be treacherous around these first couple of corners. Just how wet is it, and how wet is it going to be? It's going to be ever-changing throughout this one. Ambrose has moved up a position, Tabitha Ambrose. Nice start for her. She's up to position number 5 as they make it out onto the back straight. Couple of cars wide, nicely up close to the wall, using all of the road there. But up the back straight, couple of headlights. It's got considerably darker as well out there. The wind's still as much as ever, and I could visibly see rain on the Blendline TV screens. It's pretty heavy up the back straight, so this could be quite interesting. The 185 of Hodge is just about holding Sala at bay, but look at that, Callum. It's visibly wet up the top.
Look how slick it is. They're extremely ginger through here. Cold tyres and the rear end on these Hyundai Excels is literally along for the ride, so it's quite easy to generate energy, heat into the front tyres. The back tyres, it's extremely hard exercise, hence why they're tiptoeing through the turn 9 for the first time. And you can see there, Hodge, just how ginger he's having to take it there. And look how slow they are scattered. Here's Simpson under fire coming onto the main straight there. So there was a bit of a mistake. So he's actually going to give up the lead as they come across the start-finish stripe for the first time. So that's James who gets that position in the number 61 car up the inside at turn 12, ahead of Hugo Simpson, who's been absolutely unstoppable so far this weekend. Obviously, he's had his fair share of action. He's done extremely well to defend from his combatants. Here comes Sala up the inside. They're almost 3 wide. Tabitha Ambrose around the outside there. She's doing a fantastic job, and it looks like her future in circuit racing is very promising. It looks like she's stepping up to the Formula 40 in the not too distant future, along with Mike Borland and the team at Borland Racing Developments behind an Australian built and developed Spectrum. So it's great to see that she's progressing through her career. Her father, Marcus Ambrose, of course, 2-time V8 Supercar champion, as well as his multiple race wins in NASCAR in North America.
And of course, we've got the son of Todd Kelly out there as well, yep. Mason Kelly. So, second generation drivers, or third in the Ambrose's case, out there on the race circuit in this one. And of course, Ambrose and Todd Kelly fought against each other in supercars in those mid-noughties. Oh, Wilson's off down at turn number 2, gone down the slope, and looks like unable to get that machine back out. It's probably pretty sodden down there, although it's not rained all day. I think it'd still be pretty wet from the rain last night, and this is certainly the wettest part around this side of the course. As we see Campbell, we have gone safety car, unfortunately. So we are going to neutralise the race. Oh, a couple I don't think are aware. Campbell's dove up the inside there on, I think it was Carpenter, is it? Oh, Ambrose. Tabitha Ambrose has gone around out of the final corner under safety car conditions. Oh dearie me. She's going to drop pretty much to plumb last, unfortunately. She has fallen right back. She's ahead of a few cars, but I reckon she's lost a good 10 or more spots there. I'm watching her name tumble down the timing screen, and she's going to come across the line in position number, I think that was 19, yeah.
It was indeed, Dan. So that's unfortunate for Ambrose. Not too sure what happened. But you can see just how slick it is out there at the moment. Running on, I think they've got a mix of Federal and Dunlop tyres in the Circuit Racing Hyundai Excels. As obviously they were running the Federal tyre. That was the appointed control tyre for this series for so many years. But no longer, that tyre is no longer available, so they've had to force the switch to Dunlop. Either way, they are a multi-weather, multi-use tyre, so they're actually very handy no matter what the conditions are, but it has probably caught a lot of these drivers unstuck. Now, we were expecting, well, the forecast was that the weather was was going to arrive about 1 o'clock today. We were expecting heavy showers, thunderstorms, all sorts. High winds was anticipated for about 1:30, but it kept off until just now. And it's looking worse out there right now than it did at the start of this race. It's a lot darker out our commentary window than what you can see on screens here for the viewers tuning in on Blendline TV via Facebook and the YouTube channel from home. You can see it looks quite bright on the screen here, but it's really dark out there at the moment. So that's another factor for these young guys and girls to contend with as they come to grips literally, with these wet conditions in a circuit racing car. Of course, this is a fantastic springboard for go-karters coming out of go-karting and into circuit racing. And we should say big thanks as well to all of the organisers, the Victoriant State Race Series, working tirelessly behind the scenes to give us 6 rounds of high-quality grassroots motorsport. We are here right now at Sandown, just about to close the curtains on this round. But coming up next, we've got the 5th round of the season 2024 at Phillip Island at the Grand Prix circuit, October 4 to 6. And then it all finishes off at Calder Park, the recently revived Calder Park, the 25th to the 27th of October. So it's actually a very fast finish for the VSRS in season 2024.
Yeah, basically we'll be done in 2 months' time. So yeah, very quick end, as you say, the back half of the season within 2 months. So looking forward to those 2 rounds upcoming. This is the final race here at Sandown as part of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships this year. So next up, second round at PI, and then the sole round at Calder to finish. There are a few categories there last year. Many of them, as it was a late edition, ran non-championship rounds. So it's going to be really interesting to get to Calder. Huge grids, the full-size grids, fighting for championship points and titles to be decided at Calder Park. That's going to be a pretty spectacular event. I'm very much looking forward to getting back there. As we can see at the bottom of the screens, the RI, the Racer Industries Honda Commodore safety car, is going to come in the lane at the end of this lap. James leads the way. Hugo Simpson has won the first 2 races of the weekend and sits in position number 2. Mason Kelly in 3rd ahead of Twining and Hodge. Sala is sitting 6th ahead of Carpenter, Johnson, Campbell and Simpson. But yeah, look out for a couple coming through the field. We said Kadich, who should have started from 4th, didn't make the start. I think started from the pit lane and has worked his way up to position 14 from the tail of the grid in just a couple of laps. That is very, very good going from the youngster there. So watch for that machine to continue marching forward. The 13 car in 14th, and of course Tabitha Ambrose, who spun just as that safety car was deployed. So a couple of cars to look out for in the final. I reckon it will be about 4 minutes by the time we get back underway.
Big thank you to everyone watching from home, as we said, on Blendline TV, via the YouTube channel and Facebook as well. It's big thanks to Lanatech for throwing their support behind Hyundai Excel's grassroots racing at its very best. You can see the cars are starting to queue up. Bradley James, he's an avid leader in the Hyundai Excels, and he becomes the effective safety car now that the Racer Industries Commodore has peeled off, and this is all standard procedure. So it's down to Bradley James to decide when he pulls the trigger. When does he put the gas down and give the Hyundai Excel all the available berries that he has available to try and sprint away from the field. Obviously, he was a beneficiary of that mistake from Hugo Simpson coming onto the main straight just a few laps ago. Not too sure exactly what happened there, but Hugo Simpson is one of the regular faces you see in the Hyundai Excel paddock as well. He's been for several seasons now at the pointy end of the Hyundai Excel field. So far this weekend, 2 wins. Look, there's a bit of overlap. It's a little bit awkward coming onto the main straight here to get the race underway. Mason Kelly's just tucked up behind there in the number 15 car as well, with Twining and Hodge as well. They're a little bit awkward, Dan, on that restart.
There's heaps of overlapping further back. There's going to be a few penalties being handed out in the next few minutes, or potentially even post-race, because I think they'll have a few to look through. We're 4 wide further back down the field, but up front, James is holding on around turn number 1. This is where it's going to get tight. They funnel in the line, and there, look at that. That's the number 13 machine of Kadich. He's got at least 2 places at turn number 1 there. Very nicely judged from him. Up to just behind the number 25 machine of Harvey, who on the restart was 11th, so certainly up a couple of places. Out front though, James appears to have broken away ever so slightly in that first sector, and Simpson's looking in his mirror a little bit at Mason Kelly just behind.
And it's eaten down a lot of the time, the crucial green flag running that Hugo Simpson was hoping for, with just over 3 minutes remaining in this race. The Sandown Raceway, it's a bit of a patchwork quilt in terms of surface, so the grip levels vary a lot from corner to corner. Up the inside there, it looks like Hodge having a good look at Twining coming over the hill at turn 7. Fast right-hander at turn 8, deep under brakes into turn 9. is Simpson just behind James Hurst, you say, Dan. He was very handy under cold tyres there, or he was doing a much better job of keeping as much temperature as possible in his Dunlops during that safety car period. Here comes Mason Kelly, the number 15, having a look at turns 10, 11 and 12. Can he get a good run coming onto the main straight? It looks like he's absolutely nailed that. So would you suggest Hugo Simpson perhaps not as comfortable in these conditions as Bradley James and Mason Kelly, although still doing a fantastic job. It looks like he's just missing that crucial tenth or two to be able to take or regain control of this race like we've seen so far this weekend.
Absolutely. Down towards turn number 1. You can see the headlights blaring, just showing how dark it is out there on the circuit. But for now, anyway, looks like the rain has dispersed at this particular moment in time, because you can see the windscreen wipers are not fluid in motion. They're stopping a little bit. So I don't think there's much raindrops on the windscreen. Here comes Kadich up the inside. There's a lock-up from Vodasek in the number 7 machine, but holds on, keeps it on the racetrack. And someone's up the inside there of Kadich, who's been shuffled out wide right up close on Antcam. We can see exactly how close the cars get to the turn 4 wall as they head up the hill. Look at that. James has got a margin. James has certainly got a margin out front. As further back, Mason Kelly might have to defend from the number 72 of Twining. Is Twining going to be close enough? No. Slots back in, holds 4th position ahead of Hodge and Sala. Oh, here we go up the inside.
Kelly having a good look at turn 9, but can't get through this time around. Of course, he's got plenty of experience in a raft of race cars, including his father's Nissan Altima, as well as a Ford Mustang in the Super 2 series, as well as Super 3. So a front-wheel drive XL, very easy for him to negotiate around this Sandown International Motor Raceway like he has done so many times before. Look how awkward they are, Dan, coming onto the main straight. Twining, and that was one of the AMR cars there, cutting the course as well, straight lining it across the start-finish line. And it looks like there might be a board being shown to the drivers. I can't quite see from our vantage point what that is, but the race rages on nonetheless. Brad James, the number 61 at the head of the field, clear skies between him and Simpson in position 2. Kelly coming under fire from Twining. They come into one once again.
Hodge.
Got it all crossed up there. That XL tried to swap, rotate ends on him. And Sala in the road-worthy shop. The pink and white cart runs wide. Oh, look at the air. That's big hazard stuff there in the Hyundai XL.
Mason Kelly did the same as well, just in front. So I think, as I said it, I think there has been another downpour. We saw a few mistakes in the final couple of corners, and we can see the rain again on the screen. So yeah, I think there has been another downpour in the final couple of sectors. That allows James, just if he wants, he can drive at 9/10 to make it to the finish here with just a couple of laps to go. He's got margin. Those behind are all fighting hard, and they've still got to push 10/10 to try and stay ahead of all the cars around them. Look at this further back. We're going 2, potentially 3 wide. Strick, who started from the pit lane after spinning on the warm-up lap, is also recovering through the field. Strick is up to position number 12. So the number 13 of Kadich and the number 630 of Strick have both moved forwards very nicely, overtaken half of the field in this race, but something they didn't want to do and something they didn't expect to be doing. They both thought they'd be starting within the top 6, and as I'm talking about them, they're both making moves up the inside, and Strick might even get Carpenter as well. No, not quite got enough overlap there. Strick, oh, that was close. Carpenter lost it in front of Strick, and evasive action had to be taken there. That was a slide and a half. Final lap of the race. I don't think the action's over yet, Callum.
Absolutely, far from it. Rubbing, was that so close there between Kelly and Simpson coming into turn 1 there. But they will follow line astern, but that was a great move there by the looks of it from Kelly. He's been looming for a couple of laps now, but here comes Carpenter behind Strick. And it looks like Kadich just ahead as well. And the number 13, he's got it all 6s and 7s. He keeps it together, but on 2 wheels as he goes over the ribbon strip on the right-hand side of the apron, but he's run wide.
Oh, that was awkward.
They are so tiptoey through there, Dan. This is extremely careful from the entire field. Oh, there's a bit of contact back behind as well. They're trying to go 3 wide through turn 4. That's unbelievable for any form of motorsport through Antcam.
Saving the best.
Plenty bravery there for the camera person operating that one. Obviously, that's a bit of a joke there, Dan. Here comes Simpson. He's having a look up the inside in the 117. Kelly covers, coming up the fast left-hander over the hill. What can Simpson do? Are they going to cut the course there? That's the usual line that they use in the dry, but Simpson looks a little bit too
locked
far
up,
away.
locked up.
Lock break from Kelly. Oh, the number 15 loses his position there. Here comes Twining.
Absolutely. Might lose that one. Twining's got a lovely run heading into the final sequence of corners. Out front, though, Brad James doesn't know anything about what has gone on behind. He's been pretty good in these conditions. In this one, has not put a foot wrong. Oh, Sala very sideways out the final corner. But out front, James is going to take the final race victory. But the man in second, Hugo Simpson, takes the round. Nicely done from him. Twining steals third at the end from Mason Kelly. Despite the huge slide out of the final turn, Sala rounds out the top 5 ahead of Hodge. Campbell in 7th. Strick made up a couple of places on the final lap to finish in 8th ahead of Kadich and Johnson. But crikey, there was some fighting going on late in that one. I think another downpour occurred late on in that race, and it just threw several cats amongst quite a few pigeons, and it made for a hectic and frantic end to that race, and it's not over yet. Drag race to the line for position 21, and it goes the way of Scarmazzino in the end, but by absolutely nothing as they came across the line. 0.07 of a second, Darren Smith.
What a fantastic way to finish the weekend. We had beautiful weather right up until halfway through the 944s. We threw the world at it, Dan, for all intents and purposes. Wind and rain to finish the day with the Hyundai Excels. And I've got to say, with only the exception of the intervention of the safety car once for a relatively minor situation, we've come off pretty much scot-free with that one. Well, that draws to a conclusion round number 4 of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. Big thank you to all of our officials out there, which have had really a lovely weekend of weather. It's only just gotten testing in the last sort of 20 minutes or so. So we thank all of our volunteer officials, all of our categories, all of our race teams that have travelled from near and far, and with 3 national rounds on this weekend, we've had people travelling from all over the countryside, and they've acquitted themselves marvellously. We've seen some fantastic racing, and of course the fantastic crew from Blendline TV. They're bringing all of the pictures.
There are the results from that one. Brad James from Hugo Simpson, Twining, Kelly, Sala, Hodge, Campbell, Strick, Kadich and Johnson.